today we have a topic actually that came straight from our new messages thread. Yeah, it's a topic that, to be honest, it don't need no kind of pre-planning. Me and Noble's got this covered. So let's get into this thing. So you already see the headline, folks. Have British Caribbeans progressed or regressed? So that's just how we're coming straight like that. So, okay.
Where you want to start? Where you want to start, sibling, with this here?
Green Lantern, big up yourself, man. It's you who brought this to the chat, you know. Green Lantern. So this starts the other day. So the chat's been bubbling. A lot of people are getting involved. If you're not involved, jump in there. Like, this is going to be a very active chat. So Green Lantern started by saying, I'm half African and half Caribbean. I married a Caribbean woman and now I regret getting married. The culture for British Caribbeans is too damaged. Her parents are married for over 30 years, but she has 3 sisters. 2 are single moms to white men. My mom, who is African, disowned me and never came to my wedding for marrying a Caribbean. Have I effed up my life? So I says, what part is your African side? So Green Lantern says, Kenya. And the sad part is, I know the same thing with Nigerians, Ghanaians. My dad married and stayed married. He died 15 years ago, and my mum pretty much bashed Caribbeans throughout my youth. Wow. Yeah. But went crazy when I married one. Dude, I can't stress this enough. Many Africans, I'm guessing he's saying many Africans see Caribbeans as trash. They'll use you for the green card or visa or money, then disrespect your people. They want to get as close to Indians and whites as possible. Mm-hmm. They don't see Caribbeans as their people at all. I can see no British Caribbean marriages. I see no community. All I see is crime, poverty, single moms, and damaged people with no aims or direction. I'm saying how I see it. And if I look at the next generation, it's even worse. All these Indian, English, Africans all clanging up. How can a Caribbean kid navigate that? No support network. Dude, it looks like we arrived yesterday into the country. Yeah. Because we have no infrastructure and we don't even have the unity or work ethic like the new immigrants. You want me to keep going, Noble? This keeps going, you know. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Every positive metric like top grades, marriage rates, we're at the bottom. At everything bad like STDs, benefit usage, exclusion rates, and single moms, we are at the top. All we have to show is our presence in the UK. Sorry. All we have to show our presence in the UK are biracial people. He's brought forth some very serious points. I can't disagree with a lot of what he says, but the picture is a lot bigger than that.
Unfortunately, a large percentage of our continental brethren and sisters have that mindset. The diaspora is the diaspora.
People, this is why every week on Express Truth, we bring these discussions, because when one person does something from a community, that person is representative of the community. Okay. So when a man's having children and he's not minding them, or, you know, he's publicly making weird comments online towards black women or etc., that is where stereotypes come from. Because like I said, this Ghanaian girl's dad had it in his mind that all black men of a Jamaican lineage would not treat his daughter right. He truly believed that, Noble.
His experiences, and I would say his lack of experiences and interactions with upright, specifically Jamaican Caribbeans in Britain, are so limited that all he is seeing is the negative. He's seeing the media in all of its guises showing and portraying Jamaicans to be whatless, to be worthless, to be criminals, to not want to look after their people, to just be marauders throughout the community. And then he will see lost, helpless Jamaicans falling into that stereotype, who are the minority, but the magnifying glass is put onto them to show them as the majority.
Real talk. And this is why I say, first of all, let's really layer this thing up now. So let's take it from an origin story. Yeah. First of all, you got to understand this, and this this is where the excuses will stop. And it's not an excuse, but there's a lot that hindered the growth of the Caribbean community in the UK. There's a lot. And what I mean by that is, first and foremost, yeah, I don't believe there was no clear plan laid out when when our elders got here. And I asked this question last week. And what I meant by that is, what was the majority's plan? Now, for the elders that I've spoke to, yeah, their plan was to come here, make money, and then go back to their respective islands. I was actually talking to a lovely elder from Trinidad yesterday who lives in the UK. And, you know, she got here and she's been here about 30 years now. And she done well here and decided not to go back. Now, with that, what happened is the disconnect started. And what I mean by the disconnect is people were disconnected from their roots, from their island. So we came here with traditions, morals. We came here with a plan. Those plans were lost very early out. And what I mean by that is, think about your mom's name. Think about your auntie's names. Yeah. Think about what our grandparents named that generation of people. Very English names. Now think about these names. They're very English names. And the reason why they're very English names is because our grandparents wanted to name them very English names in line with the Commonwealth, making things easier for them in school and all of this. Then
Mark,
number two, go
ask you one
to.
question. What else would they have named them?
Okay, so you had other sets of people who were calling their children like Reuben, names like Leroy, names that were, let's keep it real, associated with black people. There's even jokes on like the real McCoy and all of that, where a man's like, yo, where are you from? And a man be like, yo, I'm from Brixton. He's like, you know my brethren Leroy. So what I'm saying is, we were very, very in line with being English. A lot of men wanted to be English. Now, I'm not saying my family. I'm saying as a community, we wanted to fit in.
Just think if we were colonized by the Dutch, then our name would be Dutch influenced, and we wouldn't even, well, we would speak English because the Dutch islands, the Dutch Antilles, their territories, they speak Dutch, they speak English, and then they'll speak their own. I know a brother who can speak 5 languages.
What happened is this, people. Remember, I'm still at the elders. Today, the stream's going to be educational. So what happened was those elders wanted to fit in. So first of all, what they named the children was to fit in. Like, we can say what we want, Commonwealth, A, B, or C. We had our own identity back home, but they wanted to fit in. So with that being said, when they got here, they understood that that racism was here. They knew they weren't equal, but they wanted to fit in. So they put up with it. Now, this is no disrespect to no one, but they wanted to fit in. And they're like, yo, we're guests in this house, so we'll put up with it. Hopefully our children don't have to. So they encouraged them to do jobs like nursing, teacher. You see what I'm saying? Jobs, government jobs that guarantee a guaranteed income, because they just wanted stability. So think about it. What was success in them days? One sec, no, you come through in a sec. One sec, I'm going to say this last thing. What was success in them days? A man had a stable job. He could pay his bills and eventually own his home. That was the goal. That was it. Come through, Noble. People, we're going to break this down layer by layer. Come through, Noble.
What else was there? No, not what else. Let's go this way. So you're right. You're 100% correct. And the idea in regards to getting that stable job and purchase that home for 6,000, 3,000, whatever them kind of prices back then, 50s, 60s. But remember why our foreparents were invited to Great Britain, Mark. They had just had a physical skirmish with their brethren across the pond.
Of course.
Yeah. They were bombing the hell out of London, Brum, Castle Vale. Yeah. Small Heath. We were getting bombed. Yeah. England, the Great Britain, where the sun don't set, where the Commonwealth ain't, they needed help. They sent their poor people them off to war, and they died, siblings.
Real
They
talk.
damn died. You know what I mean? They were decimated. They brought us, sibling, and the East Indians, the Asian brethren, yeah. They said, "You're in this Commonwealth. You've got expertise, man. We see the bright sparks over there because we've been over there for how many years, putting our foot on your neck. We need help. SOS. Come over here. Look after our children. Help us in the hospitals. Clean these streets. Be on the buses. Yeah." Help us do the thizzle wiggle. You know, we need to survive. We need to survive as a country. Without you guys, specifically you West Indians and you East Indians, we're gonna perish. We cannot. We will not rebuild.
Wait, Zulia, take time, man. We're building this layer by layer. We're gonna get to all of that stuff, but we have to understand the process of how we got here. A lot of men don't know the history. A lot of men just don't know the journey. Man think they just woke up one day in the UK and that was it. They don't know the history. Now, I'm warming up. I'm just warming up. I've said names. So we wanted to integrate. B, Noble just explained why we first come here, the war. C, we wanted stability. We wanted stable jobs. A man wanted to be able to pay his bills comfortably. But one of the number one mistakes that the elders made, because we're going to go to each generation and explain how we got to where we are today. One of the biggest mistakes that the elders made is encouraging the disconnect between here and your homeland. You know how much man I have met who are fully disconnected from their roots. They don't know nothing about their roots, nothing. They don't eat the food that comes from their place. They have nothing in common with their place of origin. Nothing. They don't go. When it's time to go on holiday, man's are going Ibiza, Dubai. Man's don't even go. They don't even know where their people came from. To me, that is absolutely crazy. Even though I've opened my eyes and I'm here, you knew to yourself that somehow we're connected to that place. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then when I went to public places like school and that, and then like, you said to a man, like, where you from? Yeah, I'm from England. What?
Get the fuck out of here, man. Please.
So,
Please, get the fuck out of here, man.
Even with that situation with Ngozi Fanani, anywhere I go in this world, people always ask me, where are you from?
Come on.
I always tell them, I live in England, I'm born in England, but I'm from Jamaica. Because that's what they're really asking you. Now, a lot of people started to believe, which is why I came up with words like the indigenous on the show. That, you know how that rubs people the wrong way? You know how much people get mad? No, we were here in the 1930s. I'm like, listen, no. You're not indigenous to this thing. Now, let's get back into this. So the elders came, they wanted to integrate, they integrated. Now, what we didn't do is we didn't put enough emphasis on the importance of the family structure. That's where I'm going to start. So this is where it starts for me. The second generation that grew up here, they're the one, that is where a lot of our issues started. Because that is where we lost the family structure. Now, what I mean by that is, when I was growing up, Noble, things were just said openly that could not be said in today's world. Like let's keep this thing 1,000. Things like integration when I was growing up was not normal. When I was in school, man would be like, yo, my man's a bounty, A, B, or C. All of that went out the window.
Elaborate. What do you mean by integration? Because for me, before I pass you the ball,
man.
Saying that my man's a bounty, that two ways we would say that. That means my man or the system generally it's going to be the brethren is checking for white girl. Yeah, so my man is a bounty, or we have someone who was maybe not raised in an inner city area who enunciates and articulates themselves very well and doesn't conduct themselves how we potentially.
No, not that. I can stop you right there. Not the latter.
Okay.
Bounty as in.
Yes.
Love is blind. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is, when I was younger, I'm going to go back old school. It's when I was in primary school. The class consisted of 3 people of color, me, a mixed race individual, and an Indian individual. Now, the Indian individual, he didn't even need to talk. There was there was zero integration going to happen. Shout out Tanvia. He didn't even need to talk. It was normal. Now, what I'm saying to you is, in our world, it's almost like we believe that because of the decisions that the elders made and whatever went wrong with the first generation, we somehow believe that we are part of the furniture here. So based on that, we expected, this is how a lot of men were failed. We expected equal rights. I'm not saying it's wrong to expect it, but reality is another thing. We expected equal rights. We thought that this place is ours. We believe that we're indigenous. With that belief, people make decisions that they wouldn't make if they didn't have that belief. So I used to go into things as a child knowing I was different from other men. You see where I'm coming from, Noble? Or you want me to elaborate?
No. I do. You want me to add something?
Yeah, man. Let's go.
So, depending on the age, depending on give me an age range where you're talking. We're talking when you went to we're talking primary school, right? So
listen, from year 3, when I was lined up as a criminal, and I remember that my baby boy tears didn't even move the headmaster. And from that moment onwards, I realized, I'm not going to get a fair nothing, because this is in primary school. A lot of guys believed that they are part of the furniture here. And that's because of the disconnect between most British Caribbeans and the actual Caribbean.
Fact.
They have zero morals that were taken from the Caribbean.
But it's more than that. If you add on top of that, which is, again, we're talking about foundational stuff now.
Yeah,
we're talking about shaping and growing children to young adults, to youth, to men. So that foundation in regards to that culture, those morals, those customs, those mores, the further on in the generation, the less is imparted and passed on. So we've got that. Then you've got the fooling system, the miseducation system, the standard of the quote-unquote illusion of equality. So unfortunately, again, our parents came, and the parents before them, our grandparents, they actually came here. They were one of the first ones of this modern wave of original people coming over here. So because I was born, my mom wasn't born here, but I was born here, according to the rules, Mark. According to the rules, you're born here. That makes you a citizen of this country, right? That means, where was you born? Like that surface level, where were you born? I'm England. Okay, that's exactly. So again, surface, I'm born here. But lineage-wise, it goes back to the West Indies, innit? So people, again, it's what paradigm are we talking from? Because that strong foundation isn't there, so the veneer of course, well, I was born here. I wasn't born back in Yard or on whatever island. But that's who I am. That's what's lost. And that's what the confusion is. And
that's why we are where we are. And I'm talking about, so many people believe that they're born here and that's where it stops. They had no culture from back home, no morals, nothing. Man, you'd actually hear some people say, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back. You'd actually hear individuals say they don't want to go back home. You see what I'm saying? They would just say these things openly. You know what I mean? I'm not going back. Now, when their children grew up, it was just like, forget about everything that happened before you. So they've got no culture. What did Marcus Garvey say? A tree that don't know its roots has no future. And that's the facts of our community. Like, the reason why you have so much integration now is because when you look at our parents' generation, the family structure was damaged there to where that's where we started to lose accountability. I'm not saying all, but a lot. The relationship dynamic between man and woman started to change. A man's roles started to change. Now, the system did help play a hand in that, but Noble, the same thing that was on display the same thing that was available to our community, this is where I agree with Green Lantern, was available to all these other communities, but it got us bad because what it meant is, so the family structure, you've got your woman, you're in a home. I'm telling any of you, man, straight, you're going to go through a rough patch. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, that's the way of the world. Now, how relationships are tested is when they go through rough patches, not when things are good. It's when things go bad that you really understand how, the dynamic between man and woman. What happened was all of that got scrapped. It just became as there was any little discrepancy, yo, I'm gone. You see what I'm saying? So, that, you know how much men I know growing up who had a home with a woman and, you know, they were building up or whatever the case may be. And the first side of any issues, they were split up. They didn't work through nothing. They just split up. Now, what that did is it left the man homeless or whatever, you know what I mean? Or just out the home. So now he's carrying this, yo, I ain't living with a woman again, you know, because I live with this woman and I got kicked out or whatever happened. The government then step in and subsidize that woman. So she said, I don't need you anyway. I can go down, sign, do whatever. They're going to subsidize me. Whereas other communities, they didn't get hit as bad. So what happened is we weren't fighting. Like Cheryl Cole says, we weren't fighting for this love. It was just a thing where man would just broke up. They'd just break up. Now, so much morals and integrity I seen growing up, like within the community. Like I seen so much morals, so much integrity when I was growing up. Like it was crazy, no, but I'm looking around, I'm saying, yo, the stereotypes we get stereotyped with. When I'm meeting individuals, these are some of the most stand-up individuals you could ever hope to meet. But what it was is a lot of them were very few and far between.
So yeah, you're on it, sibling. You're on it. The slight nuance and differences is from that first generation who came, who all they had was us. All we got is us. So they made it happen. And then also, even though the community was still, it wasn't a perfect community of original people, of West Indians from a multitude of different islands, we had a community which would make people outcasts, which would hold people accountable.
Facts.
So it wasn't so easy for a man to say, "Oh yeah, I'm spending up all the money and I'm doing." Cause remember, back in them days, you get paid weekly. You go down, you go down to the payroll, and they'd give you a little brown envelope, and it would have you look a £6 something on there, and there'd be some reckless men who, rather than going home with that damn brown envelope and saying, "Here you go, give me what I, you know what I mean, what's left over, and you run the house," they were going to the bookies, yeah, they were going to the pubs, and then they was coming back with £1.25 and saying, "Yeah, man, there you go, feed us for the whole week." Those kind of things was checked. Man and man would get checked on that. If it wasn't his brethren at the workplace, if it wasn't the person in the post office, the man in the bookie saying, "Oh, Dalroy, you spent way too much, boss. I know it's payday and thing, and you know what I mean, but what about your missus back home?" So those things were in place to counteract the foolishness. So the community, loosely said, looked after and made sure that these situations wasn't as simple of saying, "Oh, you're not looking after us, you're not providing for us, right?" And the man saying, "Okay, well, this is how I'm going to carry on. See you later. Let the government take care of you." That wasn't an option.
Our parents' generation, there was a situation where that law and order that grandfathers had, once we got to Britain. Now, I know that there was some who would misuse that authority, but I'm talking about the good leaders. That authority was watered down to a point. So once they got here, they were able to somewhat guide their sons. But what it was is that because we were now within the UK, the system of the UK took over. So it was almost like tug of war between the elder men and our parents' generation. It was like a tug of war, and a lot of the elder men lost that tug of war. What that meant is that a lot of those men went against the natural order of things that, you know, that we come from, which is for a man to provide. You see what I'm saying? A lot of that went from that generation. So what they started to do is get with women, and it became more about a good time, fun. And with fun and a good time and unprotected sex, you know what happens? Children come, but there's not really no real connection there. There's not really no love there. So what would happen in a lot of these relationships is they were built off of lust. Children would then come. Then they would realize when it was too late, yo, this wasn't actually love. Now they've split up. And when they split up now, the mom has an almost, she turns into, you know, a lioness. And now she mollycoddles the son. You know what I mean? So the son can do no wrong. So now that son can do no wrong. You know, he's mollycoddled. The mom almost looks at him as her man. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like, yo, that boy there is my man almost. Not realizing that one day that man has to lead. So now he grows up. He's got no Not all, you know, I'm just talking about the ones who are at the forefront, the stereotypical ones. Now that man, he's out there doing the same thing. And the system, and it goes on and on and on. And what happens with these homes now is these boys that are growing up in them, there's no morals. And what I mean by that is there's no morals. So now he's doing whatever. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But he looks like us and he's from our community, even though he don't have nothing to do with it. But he's a representative of it. So when these, like if you're looking in for conversation's sake in Brom, when these gangs were doing whatever they were doing, it made all of us look bad. You know, we was growing up within this community, I can tell you that there were times that we were getting it right. No, but there were times when we were on the right path, man. Mm-hmm. Especially when I was a youth, we was on the right path. But bad parenting, the system played a big part. And let's keep it real, when people were growing up, there is so much, like we said it the other day with the Michael Jackson thing, but there's a lot of negativity as well. There's a lot of self-hate. Let's really get into it. So people are looking for love outside of the community because they hate themselves as well. And a lot of people will say, you can't say that love is blind. No, love is not blind, because if that's the case, why is it only blind to us? Why is it only blind to us? So these men now, that's how it happens. That's how it happens. And then we've lost that connection. Where's the connection? How many men can say they've got a connection back home? How many men can say that? What are you doing? Are you going back there even on holiday? Are you doing it? Are you doing anything? No, they're not. So what's happening now is we're in a position now where I'm telling you now, maybe 2 more generations from now, it's done. I think we're done. Meaning that the code, it's almost practically gone. I'm telling you straight, it's almost gone now. Because we haven't held none of it. We haven't held none of it. We've held none of this culture. Like, those guys who came here from Windrush, they must be turning in their grave.
Of course they are, Mark. Of course
they must be. We haven't built when we talk about what we've built, the reason why we ain't built nothing, is because it's difficult to work with one another. Because there's not one clear goal in mind. There's too much ulterior motives.
Yes.
Like I said to you the other day, let's say you got a pot and you want to build on that pot, and you want to build with someone from your community. It only takes you to get a bad taste in your mouth once, Now you're out the picture. Yeah. And that's been happening over the years.
It's a lack of education. It's a lack of morals. It's a lack of dignity. From a business standpoint, there's so many original people, West Indians. They just don't know what business is. They don't know what real business is. They know about making money, but they don't know what real business is. And this comes down to the as you highlighted, the self-hate.
Yeah,
they don't understand it as self-hate. It's manifesting in, it's about me. I've got to be the best me. I've got to have the most things. I've got to do what it takes to be quote unquote successful, rather than, can I sleep at night? Is it a fair exchange? Is it moral? Is it legal? Is it lawful? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled in doing this? Or am I looking over my shoulder? Am I changing my number every other 3 months kind of thing? Am I blocking people on the phone? Am I not going to certain places because I don't want to see other people who I may have done over in a bad business light? And again, coming back to accountability, and which I say to everybody, how can you be in the presence of someone who has no morals, who's doing bad things? How can you ingest their content? It comes to a point, again, and this is about community. Like, we as a community have to check. And we've come so far apart from checking people now. We're just happy to scroll through social media and potentially put a comment down here and there. But in the physical, you've got a brethren who's licking off man's head, turning people into doppy, and he's still your brethren.
It's accountability. Yeah, facts.
Selling filth, sibling, doing filthy stuff, and nobody's not saying, hey, yo, Jason, you ain't coming in my venue. I've heard those things that you're doing still. Or the brethren is them having 50 mans rolling, and then they see what's going on, and then there's only 2 mans rolling, because everyone's like, F you, I don't want to be around you. What you're doing is wrong. And again, unfortunately, it's almost alien to rap people now.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Because I'll tell you, where I started to realize that there's a disconnect as well. So through a Jamaican lens, again, I grew up seeing the integrity side of Jamaica. So Marcus Garvey, I was around a lot of Garveyites growing up. See what I'm saying? You know, you talk about like the kind of music. It was a lot of liberating music that came from Jamaica. It was like I seen a complete different side of what was promoted, which was like skin out, slackness. So you wanted to like disassociate yourself from that as well. So there's a lot of people who they just hold on to the negative side of the island. So of course they don't want to be associated with it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I remember back in the day, there was a game on PS2 called The Getaway, and it had like all these gangs, and like there was a gang on there, the Yardies, and like it was just like they represented all Jamaican people. You get what I'm saying? And it was like this culture of like baby mothers and all of this, and I see. To be honest with you, these man integrate like nobody's business, man. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. So now we're at a point where we're seeing it play out on social media. We're seeing it, but as much as we get a bad rap, the Africans are right behind us now. Their youth, should I say, are right behind us as well.